Shannon Sharpe's fall from grace has been both rapid and dramatic. Once a respected NFL Hall of Famer turned beloved media figure, his recent departure from ESPN after settling a $50 million lawsuit has stirred shockwaves across the sports and entertainment world. The circumstances surrounding the lawsuit and its aftermath reveal a troubling story that many say was entirely avoidable. Despite receiving clear and sincere warnings from people close to him, Sharpe ignored advice and now finds himself jobless, disgraced, and tens of millions of dollars poorer. The trouble started with a relationship that many said looked risky from the start. According to the lawsuit filed in Nevada, Sharpe became involved with a woman referred to as Jane Doe, who was significantly younger than him. The relationship began when Sharpe was 56 and the woman was just 20, revealing a stark generational gap. The court documents described how Sharpe allegedly used his fame and influence to manipulate and dominate the much younger woman. The dynamics quickly turned toxic, with the lawsuit accusing Sharpe of intimidating behavior and emotional manipulation. Though the legal case has been settled, the damage to Sharpe's public image and professional reputation is already done. Many insiders believe the settlement amount was substantial, possibly up to $23 million, though the exact figure remains undisclosed. ESPN, owned by Disney, took only 2 weeks after the settlement to officially cut ties with Sharpe. The network couldn't afford to be associated with someone facing such serious accusations, regardless of whether he was found guilty or not. But what makes this situation particularly painful is that Sharpe had people around him trying to steer him away from this exact path. One of the earliest and most public warnings came from comedian Katt Williams, who appeared on Sharpe's own podcast, Club Shay Shay, in January 2024. That interview, which became instantly viral, wasn't just about comedy. Katt was delivering hard truths about how the industry works and how it often destroys successful black men through carefully laid traps. Katt spoke candidly about how fame, power, and access often come with hidden dangers. He mentioned Jonathan Majors, a rising Hollywood star who saw his entire career collapse after an accusation from a white woman. Katt used that example deliberately, warning Shannon Sharpe that the same thing could happen to him if he wasn't careful about the people he chose to involve himself with, particularly much younger white women. But instead of heeding the warning, Sharpe laughed it off, treating the moment like a joke. Katt wasn't trying to be dramatic for the sake of entertainment. He had seen too many similar situations play out in Hollywood. His warning was part education, part prophecy. He wanted Sharpe to recognize that the same cycle was beginning again, a successful black man getting caught in a relationship with a much younger white woman that ends in scandal and destruction. Katt had been through the fire himself. He was trying to pass along hard-earned wisdom. But Sharpe, full of confidence and wrapped in his own success, ignored the signs. Then, just 1 month later, another strong voice came forward with even more direct advice. Mo'Nique, an Oscar-winning actress and respected figure in the black community, sat down with Sharpe for a heartfelt discussion. Unlike Katt, Mo'Nique didn't use metaphor or coded language. She laid it out plain and simple. Stop chasing young women and find someone who truly cares about you. She told him to look for an older woman who could offer real companionship and stability. Her tone wasn't judgmental, it was maternal. She called herself his auntie and gave him the kind of advice that only someone who deeply cares about your future can offer. Mo'Nique's concern went beyond just age gaps. She understood the specific dangers that come with relationships where there is a huge imbalance in age, experience, and power. She warned that the emotional and physical disconnect between someone nearing 60 and someone barely in their 20s would inevitably lead to tension, frustration, and potentially explosive conflict. She wasn't being comedic, she was being prescient, and just like Katt, her warning was ignored. Sharpe continued on his path, seemingly convinced that he was above the consequences. But the reality caught up with him fast. The lawsuit filed in April 2025 contained all the warning signs both Katt and Mo'Nique had tried to flag months earlier. It described a relationship built on manipulation, intimidation, and imbalance. Even the way Sharpe handled the legal fallout echoed his earlier behavior, refusing to acknowledge evidence, not fully confronting the seriousness of the accusations, and relying on settlements to silence the controversy. Sharpe's legal team reportedly refused to let him view the full video evidence, possibly to maintain plausible deniability. Publicly, he demanded that the full footage be released rather than edited clips, suggesting he believed it would vindicate him. But behind the scenes, the strategy seemed to be about avoiding confrontation with the facts. This mirrors his earlier dismissals of Katt and Monique's warnings. When the truth was uncomfortable, he simply chose not to deal with it. The fallout wasn't limited to just Sharpe. One of the more heartbreaking elements of the story is how it affected his brother, Sterling Sharpe. Shannon reportedly asked ESPN to wait until after Sterling's Hall of Fame induction before announcing the end of his contract. It was a simple request, a chance to let his brother have his moment without controversy. ESPN declined. As a result, Sterling's achievement was overshadowed by headlines about Shannon's scandal and dismissal. Corporate logic may explain ESPN's decision. As a company under Disney, any association with scandal becomes a liability. Disney prides itself on maintaining a family-friendly image. So, regardless of whether Sharpe was guilty or innocent, the optics alone were enough to end his time at the network. From their point of view, he became unhireable. And now, more than a year since that Club Shay Shay interview with Katt Williams, the full scale of Shannon Sharpe's downfall has come into view. In January 2024, he was one of the most influential voices in sports media. By August 2025, he had lost it all: his job, his public image, and much of his fortune. Fans who once respected him now questioned his judgment. Social media became filled with posts mocking him for ignoring the obvious. Many said he played stupid games and won stupid prizes. Even those who sympathized couldn't deny that Sharpe had been warned, repeatedly. And not just by strangers, but by people who cared. Katt Williams didn't want to see another black man ruined by Hollywood's traps. Monique wanted to see him happy and settled with someone who could love him for who he is, not what he could offer. They weren't trying to embarrass him. They were trying to protect him. What makes this story so tragic is that it didn't have to happen. Sharpe had built something incredible after football. He transitioned into media better than almost any athlete of his generation. He created a podcast that became a cultural phenomenon. He sat across from legends, spoke his truth, and created real conversations. But at the same time, he ignored wisdom and surrounded himself with choices that would ultimately lead to his undoing. The lawsuit may have closed, the case may have been dismissed with prejudice, and the accuser may have vanished from public life. But the consequences remain. Shannon Sharpe is now a cautionary tale. Not just for former athletes or celebrities, but for anyone who confuses power with immunity. His downfall shows how quickly success can vanish when ego replaces judgment and when the people trying to help you are pushed aside. Sharpe now stands at a crossroads. He may still have fans. He may even find a way to rebuild, but it won't be easy. The industry he once dominated will be hesitant to welcome him back. The trust he built with audiences has been fractured, and all of it, every loss, can be traced back to a refusal to listen to those who truly wanted the best for him. The legacy Shannon Sharpe leaves behind isn't just about touchdowns or hot takes. It's about the difference between hearing advice and actually listening to it. It's about the dangers of arrogance and the high price of ignoring red flags. And most of all, it's a reminder that sometimes the fall isn't caused by enemies or scandals. Sometimes we ruin ourselves by ignoring the people who tried to save us.